Okay. So let's review a little bit about arrays. So you guys have used single variables up to this point, but sometimes you want your variables to store more than just a single variable. I am going to steal. Excuse me. So we've declared variables that are like player health. We've declared variables that store you like what dice number you've rolled. And an array is a way that you can have a variable store multiple values, all of the same type. So just like inventory items we had, like your inventory is represented by a single type in our homework, which is just a string. But you can have up to 10 items in your inventory. So it's kind of a way to, within one line, declare a lot of different variables at the same time. Instead of creating 10 separate variables, you can create one variable using this form here that creates however many number of elements that you want. And the way you do that is you declare a variable just like how you want normally. You declare the variable type followed by the variable name. And then inside brackets, you declare how many elements you want in that array. So this is creating a variable that has 12 elements inside of it. This is what an array looks like to C++. It's kind of like, looks like an inventory item, like inventory manager in Diablo. You can imagine this is an inventory that has 7 slots in it. Each one of these slots is holding one value. And so this is the declaration of an array, which is int Ragnar 7. So there's a lot of these different parts here. This all the way on the left here is the first element of the array. And then across the top are the indices into that array. It's how you get that specific inventory slot item. In my head, I keep thinking like, oh, this is basically like almost like a action bar, or like in Minecraft you have like your equipped items, or in like Diablo you have your ability slots, or these could be like your weapon slots. So if you want a specific element out of that array, you have to tell it what number that you want using these indices. And notice the indices always start at 0 and goes all the way up to the count -1. So Ragnar here is an array holding 7 values. Each of those values is a type of integer. So this number of items is based on the number that you have inside the square brackets. So if you want to declare an array, this is the general form for creating it. You create your variable type here in the front, just like any other variable, the name of the array, and inside square brackets you want the size of the array. So let's go over an example a little bit in more detail. And I'm going to give you guys a lab right after this.
How large can you need an array?
There is a limit to the static array size. You can't declare an infinite size for these. You can declare whatever the stack limit is. So I wasn't able to declare anything more than like a million elements. Like I think like 4 million elements might be the max for this kind of array. And typically, if you're making an array that size, you don't need like 4 million. There's another type of array which I'll get into, which is a dynamic array, which actually doesn't look like this. It basically starts off with 1 slot and then grows more slots as you need them. And then that can grow almost as much memory as you have. So there's really no limit to that amount of array except for how much memory that Windows is able to give you. So that one could have 1 billion elements in it if you wanted to. These arrays are for short, simple, kind of well-known sizes of things. If you don't know how big the size of the thing is you're going to use, you should use a dynamic array instead. So inventory items might be a good example for this because your inventory slot size stays constant. But it wouldn't be good for things like let's see, keeping track of all the players that are playing an MMO or something, right? So that amount, every player, that could go up to really large numbers, so you don't necessarily know how big that is going to be. So I have an example here. So I have this example using health potions with an array. So let me pull this over. So there are two arrays here that I'm using. One is called the potion package. Think of these like potion packs that you can buy from a vendor in our RPG. These are basically groups of potions you can buy in bulk, right? So this right here, this array is an array of 3 elements indicating how many potions are currently in that package when you buy it. So potion package, the first one at index 0 has 7 potions in it. The second one has 8 potions in it, and the third one has 6 potions in it. So you can see here we declare a variable called potion package with 3 elements, and then this is the typical way that you get an element out of an array. You get the variable name of that array, and then inside square brackets you indicate which index you want to get at it. So you either do 0, 1, or 2 here. And this right here, we're initializing those values at 0, 1, and 2 to be 7, 8, and 6. There is another way you can initialize arrays if you want to do it all within one line. So notice here for potion costs, this is the cost per potion for each of our potion packs. There are also 3 elements in this array. It's also an integer array. But we do the same exact thing, but instead of doing each one on a separate line, we do them all on one line here. So if you wanted to, if you declare inside curly braces, this is only used for arrays. Inside curly braces separated by commas, you can indicate starting at 0, 1, and then 2, what the value of those array indices are. Okay. If you ever did something like this, if I get potion package, what would happen if I tried to get index like, I don't know, 67 here? Well, think back to the example that I gave. How many elements are in my array? How many like slots do I have? 3, right? So which slot am I trying to get right here? 67. That thing doesn't exist. So C++ doesn't really like it when you do this, where you try to get an element of an array that doesn't exist. It's kind of undefined what will happen. Most likely your program will crash if you try to do this. So if you have to be careful, yeah.
So the amount of elements in the array is equal to the integer number?
It's this number right here.
So whatever number's in there would be how many elements are in the array?
That's correct.
Okay.
So you see here, and you get them starting at 0, you count. This is the first element in your array, you know it's numbered 0. Second, third. Because, what's that?
You always start at 0, doesn't
Oh,
matter.
always start at 0. And here,
You know that.
across the top here are the numbers that represent. So there's 7 elements in this one here. The other one, in our current example, there's 3 potion packages, but this one has 7. It goes starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice there's no 7 index here, because it starts at 0, you only go up to the count of the array minus 1. All right. So this is one way. So if you ever get into a situation where you're trying to access elements outside the bounds of the array, like here, undefined behavior most likely will crash. So you have to be careful about how you do it. Even something as simple as this can cause your program to crash. This looks like it would be safe because I have 3, but there's only this is actually 4 I'm trying to set right here, right? So if you ever want to do that, you have to make sure the size of your array is big enough to hold all the elements you want to fit inside of it. Okay. So let's get down into how it's used. So here, let's just break down the second line here. I know it's a little crowded, so we can just clean this up a little bit. Okay. The total number of potions here. So we know we have 3 potion packages, and we know that this represents how many potions are in each package. So this one, what number does this represent here based on the code that we have up here? What does this represent? 7, right? What about this one? 8, and then 6 here. So look at what it's doing here. It's adding all of those things together. So what would the result be? Can anyone do that? 14.
No. 21.
21. Yeah, that's all that's doing. It's just adding each one of those.
Damn. Sorry. I did my bad for a second.
What is 7 plus 8 plus 6? Is 21?
21, I think.
Yeah, it's 21. Okay. Let's do look at the next one here. So here, we're outputting the package with potion package 1 costs that. So notice here we're accessing 2 different arrays, each at index 1. What is potion package at 1? What number does this represent? What number is this? 8.
8, yeah.
That's what this thing is. Remember, at 1, this one's at 1 here. What about this one here?
30.
What number does it represent? 30. Remember, it goes 0, 1, 2.
Yep.
Okay, it goes in order, up, incrementing. All right. So now we actually want to calculate the cost of all the potions. So this is taking the number of potions in the package multiplied by the cost of the potions per that package. And it's repeating that. So it's taking that times that and then adding them all together. Okay. And finally, we get to an interesting piece down here. This little bit of code on the bottom is something new we haven't hit, but it is something that you will see. C++ gives you the ability to find out how much memory, how much RAM you're using for any specific variable that you want, in addition for any specific type of variable that you're using. So if you're ever curious as to how much RAM your program is taking up for a specific thing, this is an example of a function call called sizeof, which will tell you all kinds of useful information that we use, specifically related to arrays. Sizeof will tell you how many bytes something is taking up. And bytes is like, it's not the smallest measure of size, because that's a bit. But if you say I have 8 gigs of RAM, how many bytes is that? How many bytes is 8 gigs of RAM? Because I don't know, who has like, I have like 32 gigs. Anyone have like crazy 32 gigs? 16 gigs is common, 8 gigs of RAM? 128 gigs of RAM? Terabytes? So if I have this guy, 8 gigs of RAM, how many megabytes of RAM is that? 8,000? It's not exactly 8,000. It's actually, there's actually 1,024 megabytes of RAM in a gigabyte, right? Which means I have 8,192 megabytes of RAM. How many kilobytes of RAM do I have? It's the same thing. You just multiply it by 1024. Because there's 1,024 kilobytes inside every megabyte. And then how many bytes is that? Well, I have 1,024 bytes. So this is how many bytes of RAM you have, okay? And everything you do in your programs, every game that you run, consumes some of this, right? Some games consume more than others. This right here, this sizeof, will tell you how many bytes specific variables, as well as specific variable types are using. So you can be like, well, I want to know how much RAM I'm using for this potion package when I'm running the program. And this is all specific to when you're actually running it. So if I take this, and I'll just run this here. So here's the output of the program. 21, the package with 8 potions costs 30 cents per potion, 30 gold. The total potion expenses is 410 gold. So the size of that potion package array is 12 bytes. And the size of one of those is 4 bytes. Okay? So running this program, just to allocate size for that array, I need 12 bytes of my 8 billion something of my RAM. Right? And that number changes based on how big you make that array. So I said that this thing is 12 bytes. There's my potion package. What if I made this thing 1024 by 1024? How many bytes would you expect that thing to take?
That times 12, right?
So why was that thing 12 before? Wait, let me back up for a second. What was this number before? 3. It said that array, which only had 3 things in it, took up 12 bytes. How many bytes do you think integer takes up? Given that you know that this whole thing takes 12, and I have 3 elements in that array, can anyone do the math to tell me how many bytes an integer takes up? 4. Because you actually saw that in the output. So if I take 4 as the number of bytes, why don't we calculate how big the size of that's going to be? If I bring up the calculator again, I have 4 bytes per integer times 24 times 1024. It should be that number, right? 4,194,000 bytes. Ah, this is me doing bad things again. 1024 by 1024. I don't think I can actually declare that many. I'll do this one here. Remember when I said a million is pretty much the limit? So I'm just going to declare 1024 bytes. So that's how much memory that thing is taking up now. That's actually 4 kilobytes. I'm taking up 4 kilobytes of memory for that array. All right. So given that, that's just interesting. It's the times that you would actually use that, like just knowing the size of it is useful, but the reason why that specifically is useful is because if you know the size of an array, and you know the size of one of those elements in the array, you can figure out how big that array is. Given just those 2 numbers, I can tell you how big that array is. If I took 4096 and divided it by 4, I would get 1024. Trust me. Which means 1024 is the size of my array. So how about I do this? I'm type in a number here. Can anyone tell me how big my array is, given those 2? Or what did I type in? You can bring out a calculator, you know. How big is my array, though? How many elements do I have in my array, my potion package array? You know that there's 2048 bytes for the array, and each one of those takes up 4 bytes. You said what? 512? 512 elements in an array, are you sure? I'll show you. Yeah, 512. Could do this for other things too. I'm going to type in kind of a random number here. All right, given that my array size is 720 bytes, how many elements are in my array? What is the math I have to do to figure out how many I have? 720 divided by 4 gives me 180 elements in the array. That is exactly how many I have in here. 180. So that is one reason why size is important, because sometimes you want to use a static array, but you want to know how many elements are inside of it while you're writing your code without having to hard code that number every time. And you can do that by using size of. And I can actually do that here. Print out a new thing. Number of size of, or number of elements is equal to, why don't I take this number and I just divide it by this number. Not bytes. So now no matter what I've typed in, number of elements equal 180. Just based on those two things. All right. So this is what I want you guys to do. I'm going to give you guys this file. So you're going to add a new package, a fourth one. It has 10 potions in it, and it costs 40 cents per potion, or 40 gold per potion. And I want you to use a loop to count how many potions you have, as well as a loop to calculate the total expense. So the program that I just showed you didn't use a loop at all. It just added each one of these things one at a time. So I want you to take this and convert it to a loop. And I want you to take this and convert that to using a loop instead too. And add a fourth potion package to that list. All right, so let me give you this file. I'm going to put up on Zool. And you guys can just take the contents of this and start with it for your work. So it's going up on Zool. So I put it right there in Zool. It's called Array Health Pot. So the work is, I want you to add a fourth one and then use a for loop to count how many potions you have, as well as to calculate the total expense. I wrote down what a for loop looks like for those of you guys that don't remember. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about so that the program stays open before we close it?
I had to sit right now. I had to sit right now.
Yeah, because you're probably using a CN method, right?
Because I mean, I've seen different ones. This is over
So the proper way to do it is there's a way that you can actually get a keyboard in it. So those things are waiting for characters. You might want like something like escape to work or like typing in something. Looks like here. Yeah, you actually did CN as well at the end. So what do you want to do? What do you want to happen? So you tried. You're saying you tried it in Visual Studio 2010. What happened?
I tried to do it, but
there's not really a great way to do it using DeadCH. What you really, if you want it to be universal, there's a way that you can listen to what Windows is telling you. So this is actually waiting for, this is waiting for keyboard to type in something, whether that's an arrow key or whether that's you typing in a letter. So what you can do is, we're actually going to do this in SDVA. So I'm about to show you guys how you want any key, whenever you press escape to close it, to use what's called events. So Windows will tell you anything that a person is doing.
You're gonna question
on the keyboard. And if you use events,
Can't
Windows
tell.
will
I just wanna know why. How it's on. For the future.
Yeah, I would worry about don't get working in 2015 because we should all be using 2015 here. Make it work in 2015.
Where's my because his classes are so
Well, for this stuff here, I mean, feel free to use it in 2015, but if you have problems like that again, why don't you bring it in so that I can see it and then I can help you.
So I just stay here. It worked in 10, was it worked in 15 somewhere?
Can you start a 2015 project and just copy this stuff over?
Well, this wasn't 15, it was 10. This worked. Oh,
Okay. Can you open it in 2015? Show me what happens.
There are changes. I don't think you'll have it again.
I started going over the ones that were wrong. This one, is it because it has the plus signs in it?
So x is 0 to start, right?
Yeah.
And this thing says, hey, as long as the stuff inside the parentheses is true, keep looping. So if you convert true and false to be 0 and 1, 0 represents false. And 1 or any non-zero number represents true. So because 0 represents false, that's going to be while 0. That's actually says while 0 inside parentheses. If you just replace the x with what it is, it starts off at 0. So while 0 means while false, which means like because 0 equals false, that means while false, which means it actually never runs.
Gotcha.
It doesn't even get inside there because it only goes inside there if x is true.
So it doesn't even read that.
It doesn't even get to that point. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so that was that one. That one I was a mistake. That one. I didn't think I got it.
Yeah,
But
that one
then I
is
looked
that's
at
one is
my-
main loop. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this one, I wasn't sure how it got 65, so I was.
It's all about like the fact. Can you do that assignment? Can you write char my char equals 65? Is that valid?
I was wondering how the heck you got that, so I was just like, I don't know what the heck the question's asking.
Yeah. Is this a valid thing that you can do in C++?
Well, that makes sense.
And yes, it is.
Oh, I was wondering how you got it, so I was just like, oh shoot.
This one did you get? Because you had it written. 3 divided by 24 is not 8. 24 divided by 3 is 8.
Yeah, I noticed I did it all wrong.
Yeah, and plus, because these two things are integers and not floats, you get...
I set it up wrong. I noticed. I was like, man, why does it look all funny?
So it's a multiplication. This is right. You do multiplication first. So it is 3 over 24. You had it
Oh.
right here.
Oh, I was like, oh, maybe I have to
But
do
3 over
something.
24 is not 8.
Yeah.
It's like 0.0 something
I don't
something.
know where the hell I got that. Maybe
It's
I
probably
was
because you were
thinking
flipping,
something-
because it looks like if you flip the order, then it's 8.
Yeah, so that's probably what I did. I probably took that.
Yeah.
It's because I work so fast and I just.
Yeah, I would have gone back and reviewed everything to make sure that everything was
The
right.
thing I should have gave you was my disability papers for longer times on the test, but I haven't seen the link. That usually gives me my papers.
Yeah, I mean,
Usually I give it to everyone.
I wanted everyone to take 2 hours for the test, but everyone was finishing so fast that
Not
I
me.
was like,
I'm slow.
I think I would rather have taken. It takes me long to like grade these things because I have to double check my work. So
This one, I was wondering.
right, so modulus. So the way you calculate modulus is
I know that's what got me that one time when you were questioning.
yeah. So modulus is. You got it working? Okay.
Why do you need a loop to calculate?
That's what I want you to do. I want you to use a loop. It's not that you have to. It's better that way. Plus, that's what I'm asking you to. So, how many times does 3 go into 20? Well, 6 times.
Times because it'd be up to 19.
6, and then some remainder left
Yeah,
over.
it's like.
So, what is 3 times 6 like? How many is that left over?
There's a lot.
The one where stupid people went to the Confederate parade.
2 remainder, right? Do you remember? I don't know if they teach.
Oh, the remainder. Oh, see, I'm so used to not doing the remainder part, so that part.
But the remainder is the important part.
Yeah. The graveyard, and a lot about a
Because I remember us doing that in the homework, always putting
Yeah, the whole
the
thing is-
remainder.
They were
So,
That's what I'm saying.
He just threw it out there. He just said that's just.
I feel like I just did it all
See
wrong.
if we know, remember what a for loop looks like.
Yeah, see, I
You got 6, and you actually wrote 2 down there, which was the right answer. You actually had 2 down there, and that's the answer. It was just making it more complicated.
see, I look at it and then I get it right, and then I start doing more stuff to them.
Against other
This
people
one, I
leaving.
thought this would be wrong because it didn't match up to, because it didn't have an exclamation point. So I thought
Yeah, so I'll show you how to solve this, this kind of thing. So,
and then that'll help me with it, because there was another one like the same exact one. Let's do it over here.
I don't know what it is.
That's because most Americans aren't required to learn their history.
I think I did it right.
If you show a function package,
That's the
You
question.
must learn or you must
we're gonna
leave.
pull this over here. So that one was, if not, or less than 2,
Although Texas
Right.
history is kind of
and
trash.
6 greater than or equal to 2. And it
Oh,
was
I killed a tank after I died.
this whole thing,
So
right?
that makes me amazing.
So it looks like there's a lot going on, but the way that I recommend for you to solve this for in the future is I want you to like kind of simplify, reduce the problem, right, and to true and false statements. So just take a look, start inside the parentheses, and say is 4 less than 2? No, right? That's false. Okay.
Never mind.
Cool. What about this other parenthesis? 6 greater than or equal to 2. That's true, right? Okay. Cool. We got the parentheses in. So now that we've reduced that, we can get rid of the parentheses here. So, do you remember what this thing does?
Watch,
Do you remember what this? Do you remember what this thing does? It flips. It flips false to true and flips true to false.
Is this just like what we were learning on the password to username?
Yeah. This thing basically takes whatever's to the right of it and inverses it, reverses it. So what is the opposite of false? So it's true. So I can reduce this to be true. Okay.
And then that'd be false.
True and true? What does this thing mean? It means if both of these are true, the whole thing is true. So I can reduce this whole thing to true. So that answer is true. So we can do the same thing for this one here.
So whenever that exclamation point, it means what?
Flip whatever's next to it. So if we do this one here, right? 5, it looks like it's that,
So it's
5,
two exclamation points,
modulo 2,
percent sign,
greater than 0.
greater than 0.
I know it's a lot, but this is all about like reducing it.
Yeah.
Less than 4 divided by 10. All right, so let's reduce this again. Let's start with a simple one. What is 4 divided by 10? Is that a number less than 1?
Which is not gonna happen.
4 divided by 10.
Yeah, what is 4 divided by 10? 4 divided by 10. What is 10 divided by 10? 1. What is 9 divided by 10? Is it?
1 point something.
It's less than 1, right? 9/10 of something is less than 1. Anytime you have something that's less than 1, and those things are integers, this whole thing is just 0. It's just 0. So if it's like 8 over 10, or 7 over 10, or 4 over 10, this is all 0. It's not 10 divided by 4. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's 4 inside the little curly, right?
Yeah.
Oh wait, that means it's
So this
this
here is 0.
It's if it's stopped, they can't
All right.
do anything.
Is 4 less than 0? No, so that's false, right? Okay, let's go over here. What is 5 modulo 2? Do the division again. What's the remainder of that?
I flipped it around.
Yeah, you flipped it around again, yeah.
All that goes into 2.1.
So what's the remainder?
1.
Yep, so that's 1.
See, I'm so used to just saying 2.1, so
Yeah.
then I just put that up there.
Modulo gives you the
So I
remainder.
just have to remember modulus remainder.
Yep.
Or else I'm just gonna put it back up there like.
Yeah, you can't, it's not 1.1 yet.
Yeah.
So is this true or false? Okay. So now we have an exclamation point. We flip that, right? So this whole thing turns into false. Is this true? Is this thing true or false?
false.
False. Yeah, it's false.
But it's false, but it's true. Like it's supposed to be false, but like the answer's right. Like that's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, you mean this? It's true.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it ends up being.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yep. That's why that is.
This. Wait. No, this one. This one, I was wondering how the heck.
Right. So, if x is less than min equals x. This is probably the confusing part, but let's say x is 5, so x equals 5 and min equals 12. So, first of all, what is the value of min after it's run? So, in here, do substitutions. All right, substitute the variables here for the numbers. Okay, so 5 is less than 12. Will it go in and run this? If this is true, will it run this?
If it's true, yeah.
Okay, and this is true because 5 is less than 12. So it runs this code here. So what is x? X is 5.
And you put 12.
No, because you don't put 12 here because you're changing what is stored inside this variable. This currently was 12. If I put 12 equals 5 here, that doesn't mean anything. You're basically shoving what's over here into.
Oh, so it's 5
there.
into 5.
It's 5 into min.
Oh.
It's 5 into the variable called min. Min is just a bucket that holds some number. Right now it's holding the number 12. This thing actually is holding like the number 12 inside of it. It's like that's what it actually has inside of it. When you take 5 and you shove it into min, it becomes 5 instead.
Oh, instead of 12.
Right.
Oh.
So and nowhere is 7 is involved in this at all.
Gotcha. See, I thought it was just plug it in and then you do the math, but.
Right, so there's no subtraction operation here. It's literally just taking this and putting it into there. You alright?
Oh, man, he just Superman in the chair. Watch out for that. See that hero fall.
Now I get it. That makes sense.
Okay.
And then I think these are the last.
Oh, fucking hard.
Right, so this is me asking you what is the value of counter after the
And
following.
then I think I corrected. When I got my test back, I looked at it.
Yeah, I was just saying what would happen if
And then
So the key is that, does it even run this? So if you substitute 2 for x, is that true or false? So does it run this? Okay, cool, so it doesn't run it, so you don't even need to look at that. That thing doesn't even exist. Right. It was just negative 1. Yeah, it's all about determining whether it even
And then
runs
this one, I noticed it was a simple math error. I like it how I had it 2 and 8 right there, but and then I choose.
Yeah, you didn't actually print out. Yeah, that's totally.
See what I mean? It was just like I go.
Take
too
your
fast.
time next time because we're gonna have a final. So
I will. If I bring that paper for more time,
you please, I will give you as much time as you need.
Okay,
So you
I
can
will
take all
bring-
4 hours.
I will bring my paper.
what?
If you're super anti-gun,
Yeah.
you should give all your money to charity then.
Well, this is saying that
Back in 2010, so standards are based on 30.
I don't know
As far as
a lot
I
of
trying
money.
to figure out what things are good and things are bad. They figured out that this old back in the early 80s, that thing was. They're like around 2013. They're like, let's make a new version of it. Yeah. And the way they make a new version.
Wait, what?
In the loop, how you getting that together?
So it's actually 2 duplicate arrays. It's because all this code, think about all this code.
Why are you showing up as your first one?
This code, they're using a version that doesn't have underscores, and then that's old. And there's security vulnerabilities with that kind of thing, where someone can inject like malicious input to tables or something. So they're figuring like, well, we can't let you, and we can't go back to all those old programs and update them in a new way. So instead, what we'll do is we'll make a copy of the old thing. We'll make a second version of that, like version 2.0. So it's an underscore. In fact, you'll see this with other things. I don't even remember what underscore S on the end of it. They make 2 versions of that every time, just like patches. But because they want both things to work, they need some really old system. We can't use this new version. version.
Just like why do we want why do we want that?
It's a random thing.
I mean,
Yeah, that doesn't work.
yeah,
Yeah,
I read it. Mine did. I just want to know what.
They may even change how,
Yeah, you just throw that in front of it.
That's what he says.
That basically what Gabriel said during his award.
completely different.
What?
In 2013.
Because of global warming stuff.
They actually recommend that we
Summer.
don't use this anymore. They're probably going to do
Global
it.
warming's
You
a
said you
real
wanted to
problem,
do it.
right?
This is a advantage.
What?
By using this brand.
What?
So this would actually be.
You ever wonder, like, if you ever use this for like a car game, let's say you made like a Hearthstone and like that together, and you use this to generate how to shuffle your deck.
You sure
People
have one,
eventually
you're
figure out,
gonna be
no,
able
your
to.
deck is just shuffled this way.
Gabriel, we
I
had
can
faith
literally
in
know
you,
every
man.
single card.
Faith.
Because that
And then you had to go
is really
stupid.
random. That was a fake random.
You went really stupid.
So this is an old way. This is really actually, it's weird.
Oh my
That is true.
true.
No, it's not that you're told, it's just that, like that. That's a crappy way to make.
How do you refer back to
that all look really hard?
Then people care.
It sounds like it is. It's
It's a
a
plain
different
motherfucking
times.
useful.
For the most part, it doesn't matter.
Really?
For us, we never use it. We always use, there's like 100 different ways to generate a random number. But it's like, you can get very in generating random numbers. No, it's not even about how you do it. That's what, literally, there's a version of this that's called that generates better random numbers, like higher quality numbers. That's like a weird thing to say, like higher quality random numbers, but it's a big deal. Like, if you don't generate high quality random numbers, people can easily hack whatever you're writing. They can easily figure out what your random numbers are. Especially if you use time. If I knew what time was on the right program and I understood the word, I actually could tell you every single number that you're going to generate for that. Every single one before you even generate it. So then I would know, like let's say I'm playing Diablo 3 or something.
Well, yeah, that's just.
And I want to know how to get the best
figure
Someone would say like, oh, all you have to do is kill this one monster with your at the 2-minute mark.
I've no
That's
clue.
every time you do that. Yeah.
Yeah, their whole, Joker ticker, Joker box thing, was all tied, and we figured it out, so we got the system, and that was fun.
Yeah, exactly. So you should use time. If you can use a better random number.
Well, it's because the cost of your individual one and hacking that one.
I always wanted myself to work.
Just leave the bike there in the parking lot.
I'll take the bike too. You can have his car and I'll take the bike. Why would I do that? I'm giving you his car. I can give you shit.
So the way that you're actually doing a lot more work than you need to.
So then it would actually,
Because you're using you're going through this line one time right now. That thing is one. But instead, why don't you need that thing 4 times instead? And then here, when you're outputting your total. Wait, what did you do? Yeah, we did one of the homework assignments where we added up all the numbers and where you did it and we accumulated the numbers. Unless you wait. So here, it's still you actually use instead of doing this all, this basically means that this is what you're doing is you're going to print this out 4 times. That's probably what you saw on the board you read. Print that out 4 times.
Right?
Instead, what I want you to do is,
When I did
that.
five,
You don't need to do all those. What you want to do instead is use another variable to add up how many potions you have. So outside of the loop, you're going to create another variable, which is the total potions. Did you not hit the file?
No, I got it. I was just trying to.
you think I could code?
Just don't like the way you guys make it.
So there's your total potions. You should start off at 0.
You know what it is?
Every time you do that loop, all you need to do is add to that based on what push test. So instead of using 0 there, you make use of the index you created from the loop. That I variable they created. See where you created a variable called I.
Oh,
So there, that'll give you the function at I, which is starts at 0, goes at 0, then goes to 1, then goes to 2, then goes to 2.
okay.
And all you gotta do is you gotta add to that total function what this is every time you move. So you're gonna set total functions equal to, you're gonna add to total functions every time you move. So total functions will be equal to total functions plus. So you don't need to see out here. I'll actually get rid of see out on both lines because you're actually not gonna have to go into this.
How do you get some sense to gold?
Like that whole line.
There's so much gold in this.
Not that whole line, but that whole line.
Wait.
Literally,
How
all
many
you're gonna do is
cents?
add to that variable.
Depends on how heavy the gold is.
Equal. So take total functions, that variable.
The entire count is the
Ounce.
house.
1 gold ounce.
A lot.
Enemy that's
And make that
inside
equal
that
to
count.
total functions
It's
plus.
actually more
Inside
valuable to
this
just start
entire
buying
area.
gold for your retirement now.
Negates the capture.
Hell,
Plus.
Pimps have been doing that for years.
That's what you gotta do.
People keep saying, do the stock market, do the
So
stock
go on
market.
into that line.
Buy a lot of gold.
I'm not good with. And if anyone comes in,
Again, just print out
stop
this
capturing the
variable.
point, and then he can do something.
So basically,
Outside of
There's
this
like
though,
a
because
timer
otherwise
that
you're gonna be
do you know
sitting there
why
all the time.
pimps always have gold chains, gold teeth?
Because gold is worth a lot.
No, because when you're arrested, your money is seized, but your gold is not, because that is your legal possession. Fun fact. Always had gold.
That's true.
Always had gold. That way when you get out of jail, you can just go to a pawn shop.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of gotta do that. So what Dom did.
A judge
is
leaves.
kind of do as well. You have to make a separate variable.
Oh.
To keep track of how many
Did I?
totals.
Fucking did. I tried to do it the way Kirk did it.
Right.
Figure out what makes sense.
Cody, if you look here, see how Chris has a separate variable for total functions? It's adding to it.
This is the homework.
That's exactly what
It doesn't matter.
I mean, I don't know.
Is it because you're not sure? It looks like the first one. Yeah, so this is, you kind of have the formula.
Okay, okay. So the person made the table, there's still no actual value for this. So
what's interesting is that
he's assuming using the following: gold is at 1,700, right? Place it at 85% pure. So it's about 85% pure, which means it comes out to being 1,445.
have the same one to run 4 times.
There's 480 grains to an ounce of gold. So 1 grain is worth $3.01.
One by one.
1 or 0.03 grains equals 1 cent. That's your calculation.
Because each of these things.
That's a lot of text.
Hold on, I'm gonna figure this out. Give me a minute.
Might be going to fairgrounds.
So 0.03. So let's just go 3.01.
How do you print
3.01 divided by 0.03.
So you have a potion pack on
Yellow.
And you take out, so you tell it.
You wanted to see what he was inside?
Right, you have to do.
Point 1? Okay. So
What is that?
Yeah, you want all of them.
For just an ounce of gold, right? Or I'm not even assuming what the actual value of gold is. It's just to get an ounce of gold being 400.
That's where
You need 48,158.4 cents. No, this is just doing the grain price. So now, that's how many pennies you need for that.
This is what we're learning now.
So what is that? 1,000 whatever bullshit? So that's per ounce?
Yeah.
So if this is the value for 1 ounce of gold, you need that many pennies. So now we times this. 1259.1. 60,636,241.44 cents.
Just get a lot of gold out. You're like 6 pounds. You're the
Kirk, is the calculation you have to do? Like, this calculation?
Kirk's doing
By gold, we mean pennies.
Hey, who knows? Maybe you have gold pennies. We have gold coins that we have in our history.
I know that. Gold used to be like worth shit.
Yeah, and then we were like, let's do it all for free. Let's keep that make it work.
There was at one point cocoa was worth more than gold.
Gold rush.
Aztecs. Europe didn't have their own cocoa beans,
Oh, yeah.
so when they came over here, it was, oh my god, this thing is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. What is that going to do?
Tungsten.
I know for sure.
Currently the most rare resource in the known solar system. Tungsten. There's less tungsten than there is gold. Tungsten, you can sharpen a knife with your, if you get a tungsten ring, you can sharpen your knife with it. You can spark a fire with it.
I'm just not.
It'll still be a good ring.
You almost have it.
I had
That's,
like the
that's
idea-
totally,
I
yeah.
had
But
like
you're
the
missing the
idea.
curly braces.
Oh, hard.
Where are your curly braces for your foreloom?
For some reason, it's not like. I don't know if I'm like overthinking it. I'm trying to.
No, that's totally right. That's totally right. That works.
If
You had it right.
someone made a single bullet, most expensive bullet there is.
You're not editing your file. That's probably what it is. That's my guess. Double click on that guy. Double click on it.
This one?
It's okay, copper pennies.
Scroll up.
What's a one?
Oh, here. So that's the issue there. You are asking it to loop until, as long as it's less than 10. So, oh, and here too, you're saying total potions equals to that potion pack. So first of all, let's fix this. How many times through the loop do you want to go through? You want to do 4 times, right? So why is that? What is this number actually? What is potion package at for?
That's just. I was just doing it the whole
They would
thing.
easily find you though, because you know they sit there and go,
No, if you want to just loop it 4 times, literally just put the number 4.
if you find tungsten, you find
I
diamonds.
thought you could use the array to kind of base it off of.
I get what you're trying to do, but unfortunately you can't do that with those arrays. So, and in here, every
Because
time
I thought it might be confusing to people with the fact that
There's
there's
very
like
limited
this is asking for a number that's not
The others are found in
there.
Africa.
I thought maybe it was just trying to see if it was like
NASA's hiring.
item number 4, and then
I see.
that might be screwing it up. That's
no,
why I was
you're just gonna go through it 4 times because you have 4 numbers in there.
Good
So,
one.
but you're not quite done yet. So the other problem is that you have this variable which starts at 0. It's going to be equal to, this is going to be equal to 7, and you're going to go through a loop, and it's going to be, this thing is going to be equal to 8, and you're going to go through the loop. And you're not actually adding it up every time, you're just changing it every time.
Right.
So how do you add up into total potions every time? It's right on that line over there. How do you add to that every time?
What are those? He told me like a doctor, people get your shade is head.
just do I. You can also do
No.
0
You want
plus
this
I
cat.
is the same thing as I.
Okay.
Adding 0 to a number doesn't ever change that number, so literally.
Alright, so I think I'm close to it. I just. I'm not very shoot lasers.
Alright. This is the cat you fucking want. It's a fucking dog in a cat bottle, okay?
That's only Kirk's cat.
I don't get that too.
But the one Kirk had, I was waiting there.
No, see, if somebody says like, give me a cat, I'm pointing you to this. If you don't give me this, you're not giving me a cat. I know. Which is why some will not buy me a cat. And if they do, I'll probably marry them. Male or female, I don't give a shit. You buy me this cat. No. Marry him, kill him, then I get everything he's worth.
That's what I got. Still rolling this up.
For this, I'm going to buy a mastiff.
I guess I can afford
Like I get it.
Mastiff. Like dog.
So doing that, I apply the same logic as this. So it's going to package 0 the first time, then 1, 2, and 3, and that's all we have.
Oh,
0. So every time it runs,
The
it's going to go from 0 to 9.
Add
equal to what Polish currently is, plus it as
So watch this.
Oh, so I gotta be.
And then after that,
I think that sounds. I'm gonna start every time with reporting. What's the cost?
and then just do that random position. We're putting what position in the array.
Yeah, I don't know why.
You have this right.
Maybe he
But this is what is that for?
The homework.
This is totally right. I want you to see exactly what this.
If you ever want to get a mastiff, don't buy the bullshit $16,000.
Whatever is he
Go to mastiff.rescue.org.
Probably another part of his life.
I mean, look at this, look how cute this is.
If it's the last element,
That's not me
put
told.
a period, otherwise just keep putting comma.
I would fucking sleep with that. Don't do that right now.
Switch statements.
So if you have
I'm pretty much there. I got
remember, if you want to have a force
how much money did you get?
inside of that array is 3 right now.
18?
Same thing for here.
What?
Last one died.
These are
After that, yeah.
masters.
Dog.
Well, it's currently the most expensive breed of dog.
Just work to
60,000 or more, depending on the breed.
Okay, so
Yes,
yeah,
go ahead, take a break, be back.
here was cost more.
These ones are adoption. These
Yeah, that's what
are. This is where you should go to get your
I'll just go to a pound or whatever, find cute. I'll be walking down like that one, the one that looks like it's better.
Well, see, the reason I like mastiffs is because they get to be like fucking giant. That's fine.
Are you done?
I want some medium size.
Well, see, I just want one because I wanted to train them to bark. Because they're barks. So a robber would never even have to rob his house. They'll just hear the dog bark and they're like, nope, that sounds like a fucking demon.
Well, I want one when it dies and make a sandwich out of it.
It's a good one.
Some aged beef. Can't beat me.
No, I'm not good.
Yeah, figure it out. Figure out how big, how big would be. We'll have a train. So
So run that.
Cody. Guys, I think a cat mated with a dog. This is terrible.
That's a dog.
That is some mixture. That is like a cat dog mixture.
This should just give you, this is the result
Dog is Batman. This is Bat Dog.
Nothing beats that cow.
I don't know. This thing's a massive man. It could get as big as a cow.
So you have 31 votes in the same difference. That is the correct answer. That's not it.
Actually saved the day.
It's like the same thing when you
Now,
so like
Wow, guys, this is an issue.
So this is basically how we're supposed to do it?
Yeah, so it just shows you.
This shows how many masses are sold.
Yeah, mine keeps stacking up.
Okay, want to see how many?
forget about the other codes.
There are people not showing love here. I will adopt all 39 of them.
That cow saved the day.
It's hard to, I'm trying to do the money for
You would get the same result, but you wouldn't have to do each.
Oh, he has a cow.
So how about the first thing to do is write, why don't you just write how many
That's why we're.
have the board of examples, and that lose 5 times.
Boom. That cow saved the day.
You don't lose your head off that, right?
Baby, you know me. That cow. Even it is a thing. That cow is a thing, Jamie.
Is it really crucial in here?
Wow, this is like the best deal there
It
is.
doesn't matter.
$250 dog fees.
Really like whatever you want to.
That's just the
In a
only.
lot of situations, it really doesn't
He
matter.
comes
And here it doesn't matter.
potty trained, good with other dogs, even cats.
Use either one of those. It used to
Yep,
matter.
age young dog,
It's
age
like
4
back in
years.
2000.
So, you love the kid, is very gentle, neutered, vaccinated, microchip, licensed, and comes with food, treats, toys, and more.
So you can use either one.
And much more.
I know, right?
So you write that, and all I want you to do is I want you to print out inside that loop, so set up some code races. I just want you to print out the number, each of these numbers. So the nice part about you is that a loop that's very alive.
Oh, wait, the super horse?
Yes.
Or super horse.
Just like this, 0, 1, 2.
I can't blame the horse. Can you blame the horse?
No, I'm the horse.
Well, I'm just saying you can't blame the horse.
Total sum. Remember, you have to what's your sum equal? Your sum equals 0, right?
Except
Yeah,
in
sure,
this
you
is
say that
a wolf.
and your integer.
First move that,
A wolf is super bad. How scary is that?
For the 4, so just reading that.
Doesn't terrify me.
It's kind of like. So what are we supposed to do with this one? Your integer. That would be.
Yeah.
You know, like. So like, if it's like, oh, total sum is total sum, but it doesn't know, you have to put total sum.
Those are the numbers that
Times
are
the total sum.
Okay. So you made a loop that goes through which one of these things. That spits it out. So why don't you make a variable? I think you add them. That would be funny.
For the most part, you just have to do the last two basically.
Now, the
Oh,
total
dude.
sum is ensure equal to
Right now you're printing on
down here, you're gonna set the
variables. That was like a and all you did was you just add the number of motions and you added this.
Okay, so your total, so this is what, wait, is this for the price of summing potions? Okay, so delete these lines. So, we're trying to find the total sum, like the total amount of money, we're gonna put the total sum is equal. Yeah.
someone threw it in on
All of them? Don't complain, just accept fine.
Yes, so you're not changing.
Then do it yourself.
I will.
Good.
Lots on
Yeah, let me see that on the
potion package I.
I got you to get the whole breakdown.
Who's full of rage and hate?
I didn't
I time, yeah, that's times.
And he shall fight Crypto Dog.
What? After the I. No. After this equation.
I don't care, so I want to see the fight.
All Crypto can do is literally pull the ring off the tail and the cat
Time
dies.
to here, and then
The
do by.
red ring is replaced with white.
Well, so you do
I know.
It's kind of a big weakness.
Well, they did it in the animated series, which was weird.
Yeah, sure. That's their entire. That's their character.
Oh no, but in the animated series, the one wearing the red ring was able to become a blue ring, which was weird.
No, blue ring can nullify the red ring.
Oh, okay, so somehow magic that gives you your heart back then?
No, it negates the effects of the eye. That's actually a way to remove red rings from people. You fill them with blue eye.
It's gonna be like
Red ring can overpower the ring.
give me a file.
It's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors thing with double sided color.
So
Hey, at least you got bullshit.
It's true.
it's not a
I need to keep it like standards that way.
No.
Except for yellow and green. Yellow and green, you don't have.
I see 100 why. Why is it
Yep, you got it, dude.
But in the go, it takes away all free will.
Just the main numbers.
No. Fuck.
It's basically a prison.
All right, what do you guys got?
And plus 2.
So I want to. Okay, yeah. What's up?
Well, I was trying to scratch my I had some issues I finally figured out the but now
What is the never assigned to? Oh, I see. So you're creating a list. So you just have to right at the very top there. Yeah. Right before the sentence. So you have to actually analyze. So it's created in C# and write that equal to do equals new list space. Yeah, that thing there you go. This name array. And it's basically doing new list. Yeah. Which is name object. And then you put empty parentheses.
I'm the same
That was the empty parentheses. There you go. That's all that error was. Because it's never assigned to.
If you look at this, one could argue that you'll probably do good here.
Thank you.
Here.
How you guys doing over here?
Yeah, but we both know it can say whatever it wants.
I have no idea.
No.
Here's the. This is the.
You wrote a loop.
No, I'm sure it shows the bytes.
So the key here though is that every time food gets moved, you have to split that off four. And instead, what I really want to do is I want to just add up each of those quotients every time. So why don't we start simply? Can you delete this line of can you write the loop that prints out how many quotients are inside each step? So I would just delete that whole. And I would delete the line. So if you look at this loop, right, I, which is the variable, it starts at 0, then goes to 1, then goes to 2, then goes to 3. Just like how this goes from 0 to 1.
No, what I hate sometimes is when you're
So
trying to fix something and it just deletes the whole thing when you're trying to
Erase-
type it.
yeah, it deletes the rest of it. I wanna add some
Instead of typing it there, what if
Okay, so
there's
there's
I? So is that how it's working?
Yeah, and then for the second part, it's the same loop.
No.
He was just reading.
That's
out
not
the
just
numbers.
Yeah, he was confused.
It's a polygon.
So I was just like, oh.
You know,
He doesn't know polygon.
So how do you see,
It forces
if you put a C out
compaction.
there,
It basically is
it's just like how this is a C. Put that out.
galaxy line.
You use that station. Yeah. With this little
Hey, it's a very strong ring.
Here we go.
So
It's actually the cable liquid. Because someone.
Yeah, they
Oh,
say.
someone did it? Oh, no.
So like, I had like answers over
Oh.
I had like any of the stuff.
Also did, I turned in my homework.
So I'm gonna collect them all. Messy.
I helped him out. Oh, me.
Oh, really? Just you? Oh, cool. That's basically it. Yeah. You could also do, I don't know, did you see how I did the homework in game class? The 3 different ways you could use a switch statement as well.
Oh, you said we couldn't use a switch.
Oh, that's right. You guys could not use a switch.
Yeah,
You guys had to do without it.
If or switch. So.
Yeah, so I showed you how you did it without using an item pool. So you basically create 2 arrays. One array that's all the possible items, and one array which is your current items.
Okay.
So you do it like,